Hello, can you hear me? Well, good morning everyone and welcome to Pompeu Fabra University. My name is Marc Permanyer and I'm the Communication Officer of the Mercat del Peix project. I don't know if any of you know about the Mercat del Peix, so Albert surely knows. So I'll be very briefly because I want to tell you that a new research and innovation complex focusing on biomedicine, biodiversity and planetary well-being will be built just in front of this building, right here, where there is an open-air car park. And so all this area will change in the next years. So the Mercat del Peix is promoted by the Pompeu Fabra University with the participation of 3 strategic partners: the Barcelona Institute of Science and Technology, BIST, the Spanish National Research Council, CSIC, and the other one, sorry, it's the University of Barcelona. I'll give you a few, I'll be very brief, I'll give you a few data about this project so you can understand how huge and important it is. The built surface of the complex is around 45,000 square meters. This means quite a lot. It will host about 1,200 scientific staff. And the investment expected is of about 105 million euros. We expect to finish the works at the end of 2025 and open the complex to the scientists just at the end of 25 or just the beginning of 26. But, well, that's all, because today we're not here to learn about the Mercat del Peix. Today we are here to listen to your presentations. And we are very honored to host the closing session of the master's degree in City Resilience Design and Management, mainly because the Ciutadella campus has served as a model of inspiration for your work. I'm sure you've done a very hard work, and I look forward to hearing your presentations. So thanks a lot. And now I pass the floor to Lorenzo, or directly to the... So Lorenzo will conduct the session, or just you introduce the rest? Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us. No, I guess that they can just start to let you know that Oscar Caracedo will arrive now as one of the 3 professors that's trying to help them, but I guess that they've been working a lot without our much support. So Julia Sonetti is the other professor, which works between Barcelona and Lisbon, and she's the expert in sustainability campuses, and has been working in Europe, and she's been the responsible of the University Campus Sustainability in Turin. And I'm the chair of the Urban Resilient Research Network. And so we've been collaborating among us 3 to try to contribute through the students and this work to this proposal. So please, guys, I'll let you start.
Thank you for having us this morning. I wanted to first start by introducing myself. I'm Allison.
I'm Jared.
I am Maugo.
I'm Rafael.
So we've created a plan to transition the UPF campus towards resilience. And at the foundation of our proposal is the idea of freeing space and freeing knowledge. Can you click this slide? Thank you. But before we explain our proposed strategies, it's important to share with you the story of who we are, why we use resilience, and how resilience has informed our proposal. Then in section 4, we will break down our proposed strategies and the design implementations to show you how a resilient campus can look like and how it can be integrated within the wider city as a model campus. So who we are is an important part of the story because we are students, and we are from 10 different countries with very diverse academic and professional backgrounds. And we used our shared passion for making urban places more resilient and more inclusive and more flexible in the face of the climate crisis, the pandemic, and other global challenges. And working within this multidisciplinary team really allowed us to look at the campus from multiple perspectives to create a very thorough and well thought out proposal. So then to explain briefly what is resilience and why we use it. Urban resilience is the ability for an urban system to maintain or rapidly return to the desired functions or quickly transform the systems that limit current or future adaptive capacity. And urban campuses are changing due to climate change, digitization, and other global phenomena, which makes applying a resilience lens essential to this project, because just sustaining and using sustainability to maintain the functions and systems within the campus will expose it to vulnerabilities in the future. And there are 3 ways to respond to these vulnerabilities. And we propose for this project to establish transformative resilience in design and management to free space and knowledge for innovation. The UPF campus is embedded, would you mind going back for a moment? Thank you. The UPF campus is embedded within a living urban system, and that makes it inherently unpredictable. Take, for example, the pandemic. And we use resilience to sustain the core functions of that campus as a place of learning and research. But the critical aspect of resilience here is building the capacity to respond to the unpredictable. And this requires an approach beyond sustainability, an approach that's sensitive to the complex nature of these systems. And freeing space and freeing knowledge allows for that flexibility as urban challenges present themselves in the future. So when we started, we looked at some key challenges for the campus that allowed us to identify leverage points for implementing transformative resilience. And what is a leverage point? A leverage point is something that has the potential to elicit tangible and substantial change to the wider system. So looking at the socio-cultural context, we looked at the relationship between social and economic spaces and then the history of the wider campus. And we identified leverage points in using context-sensitive design and nurturing a strong intra-urban network to address these challenges. Then we looked at the ecological environment, and that's the relationship between nature and the experience of people within the campus. And leading us to leverage points, looking at the connection between these social and ecological systems, connecting to other nodes around the city, as well as using adaptive vernacular design to inform our proposal. And then finally, we looked at the built environment, looking at infrastructure and mobility, using leverage points like permeability and safety to address challenges we identified in safety, monofunctionality of land uses, as well as the physical barriers that limited connectivity and mobility within the campus and to the wider area. So now Jared will explain how we use these leverage points to inform our vision and our guiding resilience principles for building the adaptive capacity and the transformative resilience for our campus.
Thanks. So over this section, I'm going to just go over our vision and kind of guiding principles of what informs our implementations, and then just a brief overview of the implementations that Rafa and Malgo will go into more in depth later. Go ahead, go to the next slide. And so when we're talking about freeing up space and freeing up knowledge, when referring to space, we're almost talking about unlocking the space to its fullest and to its highest potential. So this refers both to the ground level and to the surrounding infrastructure. And in freeing up knowledge, the last thing we want with our proposal is we want it to just like present as if it's 3 separate, really innovative universities that don't interact with each other. And so our proposal is designed to enhance the strengths of each of the collaborating universities and partners, and so that this knowledge can branch across what other maybe traditional methods would produce siloed universities. So we want to free up the knowledge so it's free-flowing between people, between institutions, and we think our and believe our implementations directly address kind of this freeing up and unlocking of knowledge that can lead to planet-changing insights. So our vision for the UPF campus is that it would be a Mediterranean hub for knowledge sharing and active learning. It would draw upon the rich history of the region and universities to innovate, inspire, and create resilience for communities using this overall framework of planetary welfare. And we decided to prioritize 4 of these resilience principles. You'll find out throughout our implementations and throughout our resilience principles that each of them both collaborate with each other and kind of depend on each other. Each resilience principles and implementations build on the success of the other ones, just like each university enhance the strength of each other. And so our 4 guiding principles are maintaining diversity and redundancy, managing connectivity, to encourage learning, and to broaden participation. And so with this, we're trying to activate the ground in a way that encourages learning, Next one. To create this circular system in terms of food, in terms of waste, in terms of material, so that diversity and redundancy is encouraged and maintained, to re-energize UPF in a way that connectivity is managed in a smart manner, and to broaden participation through connecting these ecosystems and being very strategic with how we propose to enhance this campus to the broader city. And so with activating ground, we want to activate it in both terms of how the space is managed and also how the space is intentionally designed to encourage these many unplanned interactions that can create really innovative ideas. With circularity, if you can see in the top right corner, we show some examples of how non-organic waste can later be turned into material that can then provide furniture, for example, or material for future projects. We also show how organic waste can lead to nutrients that then can provide healthy food for the campus or surrounding area. And re-energizing UPF, we want to just not take from the grid, but we want to actively contribute to it and manage this grid in a resilient way that can withstand shocks and stresses. In connecting ecosystems and water reuse, we want to make sure we're trying to reduce the risk and vulnerabilities of intense flash floods while also purifying the overall water table. And then lastly, we want to be strategic. What we hope that this and believe that this proposal does is it can be used as a tool to advocate for these green arteries and for the other proposals that this campus would connect to the surrounding city. And it only enhances this campus' ability to be resilient and to be an example for the broader world.
So before we introduce you to how to implement resilience on the campus, we also want to think for whom is the resilient campus. And in our first strategy, the active ground, we're envisioning a campus filled with multifunctional, accessible, and also inclusive spaces. Spaces designed not only for campus users, such as students and professors, but also local residents, to create a diverse community with a strong sense of place and a will to co-create it. To achieve this goal, we have identified 3 key areas, gravity centers, which we would like to activate to regenerate the whole campus, but also its neighborhood. Different characters of the spaces are reflected in different names, as you can see on the slide. The first one is the conversation pit. It is the place that invites to gather, to stay, to exchange by taking advantage of the inner yard structure between the new planned buildings. Amphitheater-shaped form, covered by the shade from green canopy, has a potential to serve as an outdoor collaboration space and kind of showroom. Next one. The inspiration for our project was the Water Square Bentemplein in Rotterdam, which is an example how such a space can serve not only as a conversation pit, but also water collection pit to control the runoff in case of extreme rainfall events, and in this way address the challenge of climate change. The next space is the beehive. And during the site visit, we have noticed that the neighboring abandoned building, creates a great opportunity to activate the ground by creating a connection between the existing and the new infrastructure. We see a potential for a place buzzing with life, where people connect and then spread the knowledge and pollinate the area, and therefore the idea of the beehive. To trigger social mixing, we came up with this layered vertical structure, starting with the ground floor that is open, active, dynamic, and brings together science, art, and culture. Then going through semi-public first floor, dedicated for open labs and co-working spaces, finished with accessible housing to, again, encourage social mixing. And our main inspiration for the ground floor is the Science Gallery in London, which brings together art and science in a way that UPF could also do. The next one is the release space, which we envisioned as a pedestrianized street connecting the existing and new buildings, where the knowledge and innovation created in the other spaces can be freed and brought to the streets. Flexible design and movable furniture makes it suitable for hosting diverse events and improve the adaptive capacity to keep the campus active and alive 24 hours a day. And in this space, instead of imposing top-down sustainable solutions by the managing partners, we'd like to invite to give this space back to the community. And this could be a space meant for pilot projects to implement a community-led and regenerative design. Here, an inspiration was Open Street Ząbkowska in Warsaw, which shows how by pedestrianizing an area and filling it with simple design components, we can totally change the character. So what used to be known as the most dangerous street in the city became very active, inclusive, and filled with different social activities. Another inspiration and an example of this flexibility is the Lawn on the in Boston, which shows how public space can be adapted to different kinds of events and also kept alive the whole day. Last but not least, the active ground is not only the physical ground, it is also the virtual ground. Digital events mixed with in-person events on a daily basis gives us the opportunity to improve the emergency preparedness in case of emergency such as another pandemic. The second strategy that we would like to introduce is the circularity. It aims to close up certain sectors in regenerative loops to free the space for community and for innovation. The three pillars of our strategy are waste management, food systems, and locally produced material development. The first step in waste management should be waste reduction. Zero waste policy aims to bring back to the cycle every potential waste produced at the campus. This can be achieved by using exclusively compostable materials and reusable packagings. Additionally, digital university opportunities can also contribute to reduce the paper waste. Organic waste can be later composted and vermicomposted on the campus premises, and then used as fertilizer and brought back in the community gardens, where the food produced can be later used in the campus cafeterias. Of course, this solution won't meet the needs, the food needs of the whole campus. So for this reason, we strongly encourage cooperation with local producers to shorten the supply chain of good quality organic food. Additionally, the community gardens can provide a learning experience brought outside of the buildings, again to free the knowledge. Unfortunately, even with zero waste policy, there will be some waste that will be brought from the outside to the campus and still needs to be handled. To address this challenge, we propose smart waste management. When smart bins can be implemented to increase the recycling rate, then compress the material, which can be later reused, for example, as an outdoor furniture on the campus premises. Therefore, no waste should ever leave the campus. In order to free the space and free the knowledge and manage connectivity, many walls need to be taken down, also literally. However, the construction material doesn't need to contribute to waste production either. Inspired by the locally based material development, we proposed reusing the demolition material on the site while constructing new developments to reduce greenhouse gases emissions connected to construction material transport. In fact, recycling materials on construction sites is deeply rooted in Barcelona's heritage. As you can see, recycled broken ceramics was used in famous, unique Gaudi's works. And now we're coming to more engineering part of our proposal, which Rafa will guide you through.
So, as a group, we know there's an existing proposal from UPF that addresses sustainability, energy, and basic needs that need to be covered. But how could you talk about resilience if we don't talk about inclusivity and a system that includes all the parts and also brings knowledge in to later on free the knowledge and scale up the services to other citizens and students that come to this campus. So re-energizing UPF aims to build on existing UPF work on energy and transportation to address resilience challenges of climate change and insecurity. But the research shows, for example, the research shows that the Ciutadella campus relies on electricity from the main grid, as you can see on the map. But this reliance on a local grid exposes the university to price shocks that we see nowadays with wars and price changes nowadays, and potential grid failure caused by high demand and climate change events like heat waves. For example, UPF estimates that a 1 degree fluctuation in temperature produces 10% increase in energy use. Also, there's the problem of transportation. 15% of trips to the Ciutadella campus are made using private vehicles, one of the largest source of emissions for the UPF campus. So the global transition to electronic systems powered by renewables poses a fantastic opportunity for UPF to build capacity and learn through the process in a free and open way. So how does this proposal aim to do that? By connecting new and old buildings that we saw on the map through an integrated smart grid and monitoring system. Your proposal, which proves that energy consumption has declined 25% in the past 5 years, can build redundancy and diversity in its energy systems. This means an aggregation of distributed energy sources of small sizes, such as solar PVs, which provide, in this case, 5% of campus energy, but also create a backup system in case of grid failure and power outage, covering critical assets of the building at the same time. So we see the example, we see the potential on Roger de Luria on the rooftop, a small-scale solar PV that has the capacity to provide 240 kilowatts of energy. And even though it's 5%, it wouldn't cover the entire energy use and consumption of the campus, but it would provide a strong backup system that would cover critical functions of the building and would serve as a backup system that can, by implementing research and more studies, can be improved and scaled up over time. Next slide. The university campus context nowadays shows a high number of cars driving in and out. So your proposal that aims to electrify UPF's fleet can be enhanced by the installation of EV and bike charging stations, therefore reducing GHG emissions from transportation, which accounts for a high number of GHG emissions. Even though the campus has a lot of plans to go sustainable, the cars remain as one of the largest sources of GHG emissions that can be addressed by encouraging more driving in with electrical cars, driving out, and charging stations that can take place on campus. Next slide. Also, to talk about energy reliability, a good strategy would be to install a battery storage system that supplies power during critical loads and reinforces the energy backup system, a key resilience principle. This also gives you the opportunity to apply research combined with the grid, the microgrid, and potentially share the knowledge and results for future implementations. So how can all these components be integrated? An energy management information system can improve the building automation processes as the ones shown in the new high-performance buildings that are going to take place in this parking lot. By sensing energy use and demand, that energy that is connected specifically and mostly to energy lighting and air conditioning. So the scheme here shows an IT infrastructure that can manage data analytics and create predictive controls that can support decision makers in the management department. The strategy can also extend the design concepts from the new building facilities to the old one, therefore creating a connection and creating also opportunities for collaborative research in the new hub to bridge the gap in research and create more synergy between energy and other systems like water, as shown in the example of the B2 facility building of the University of Arizona, which has an islanded grid that can connect to the local one without being 100% reliant on it, and using the microgrid to manage and provide water. On the other hand, we see how all the components that were exposed in this section are being implemented in a Mediterranean context and campus such as the one in Genoa, Italy. So speaking of water systems, ecosystem connection can be achieved also through a water strategy that reinforces the idea of maintaining redundancy and diversity. But how can the UPF apply the resilience lens to this new development? First, it is important to talk about existing challenges related to shocks and stresses in this area, especially on this map in the north and west of the campus, which are at risk of flooding that can affect both pedestrians and vehicles. So here's a new low-impact development system that implements sustainable urban drainage as a means to mitigate stormwater runoff and also treat water, because a resilient campus should also address issues of water quality and provision. Next one. The UPF plan is to use one of the rooftops of the old buildings to catch rainwater. So the strategy here is to connect the deposit de les Aguas to a constructed wetland at Park de Ciutadella, which would be adapted to the local environment and have the potential to retain, filter, and treat polluted stormwater by reducing water velocity. The aim is to create a water flow from the existing building, which can use water catchment for grey water uses, and then conduct grey water access to the constructed wetland, where it can be treated and infiltrated into the water table underground. There are also other sustainable drainage implementations, such as the rain garden, bioswales, and an infiltration trench, all of which serve as biofacilities that combine treatment and conveyance services. This ties back to the provision of ecosystem services, regeneration, and reconciliation of spaces, as native species are considered important in this implementation due to their synergy with the local environment. So if we look at reference projects, project and a model developed by a German company, Dry Settle Consulting, shows that indeed the water body like a wetland or a rain garden can be implemented within an urban context, so that it shows how water can, after grey water uses, the excess can flow into the wetland to cover the principles of retaining, infiltrating, filtering, and treating stormwater, polluted stormwater that can be later used for other uses such as irrigation, food, and grey water, also for air conditioning and cooling. On the other hand, we see an actual example of the city of Barcelona in Poblenou that says understanding the role of the water sector. So we see how the water can be implemented within an open space, and it can have an important role, especially in the context of climate change, where we see more flash flooding in short periods of time, so that water should be mitigated. But why cannot we potentially treat that stormwater and reuse it again to create a circle loop?
So we propose to connect ecosystems not only through water management, but also through green arteries. And not only on the campus and its surroundings, but also bringing it further to perforate the whole urban fabric and create a city-scale solution, city-scale green network. As it is known from ecosystem sciences, smaller habitat patches connected together preserve biodiversity better to create a resilient population than just one large patch with no connections. And in this solution, we propose translation of ecosystem science into urban environment to address climate change challenge, to to improve the provision of ecosystem services such as microclimate regulation or runoff control. And here on this slide, you can actually see a great example from Barcelona of how this can be done. You can see the permeable pavement in Passeig de Sant Joan, large tree pits that enable infiltration and control the runoff. Then the large trees, we can see the different species in the tree canopy that are tall enough and have crowns large enough to provide shade and habitat for different species. However, the passage is still clear and open enough to improve the feeling of safety. And our inspiration for this strategy of green arteries is the Albino Resilient Campus in Stockholm University. And this project provides an example of how this can be implemented on the campus in the campus design and management to connect with the city, to increase mobility, accessibility, and provide ecosystem services. So in this way, we wrap up our strategy, starting from activating the ground on the campus and then coming to the city scale.
Yep. And for context, this presentation is just a brief overview of our over 50-page report that quotes and takes from the best lessons from over 30 case studies of what each university across the world is doing best. And so, again, this is designed to be a brief overview of these strategies that are pursued more in depth and talked about more in the report. And so what we want to imagine is what it looks like to fulfill this vision. Like, these implementations are designed to enhance the existing proposals and existing buildings, and also are designed in such a way so that you, as the different university partners and developers, have something to advocate to the city for these changes. Because obviously there's the proposals directly on the campus and the surrounding area, and we believe that these proposals give more tools to you to advocate to the city. And so what we want to do is we want to imagine this re-energized campus as one beyond sustainability and into resilience, a place of active ground where each university leverages their unique strengths to produce planet-changing insights. A campus where biodiverse ecosystems connect to the surrounding area, so people are naturally invited in to see what circularity looks like in practical, innovative ways. And to imagine a campus that projects to the city and to the world as a resilient citadel of knowledge. And so the video we're about to show is kind of trying to illustrate what it looks like to re-envision it in a practical way. So. Let's do it. So imagine yourself as a part of this resilient vision, where the surrounding area is co-managed by the universities, where the zoo space is transformed to create rain gardens that reduce urban runoff and purifies stormwater, while being an example for the world in how biodiversity is actively cultivated. Imagine implementing circularity, where what is usually trash from the campus instead delivers nutrients to gardens that then produce food for the campus, where waste from within the campus and surrounding city is regenerated for future developments and projects. Imagine your staff, researchers, and students walking through a vibrant campus of activated ground at any point, day or night. A place where knowledge is free-flowing between people from many diverse backgrounds, and innovative projects are encouraged, not bogged down by bureaucracy, where the gap between physical and virtual spaces are bridged. Imagine a redundant electrical grid that can withstand the shocks and stresses of an unpredictable world, a system that doesn't only take from the grid, but contributes to it, where innovation and research occurs through the heating and powering of buildings. Imagine a space that is freed from barriers, a space that is well connected to the surrounding area through biodiverse ecosystems, where people are naturally drawn into the campus from the city and from the city to the campus. Imagine a campus where space is freed from barriers and is freed for its best use, not just on the ground, but on the roof and exteriors, through greening, energy production, and water collection, where the entire campus is interconnected and contributes to the well-being of people and the planet. And imagine how each of you can enhance this proposal and accompanying report to make it your own, with your insights, ideas, and research to make this a resilient citadel of knowledge. Thank you.
maybe just before we go to the last comments and questions, we really want to stress out that this is a lot of work of 14 people being here, but also sitting there. So also big applause for them.